Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 5 Chapter 5 Verse 1. Shubhavacha Nayam deho dehabhajam luloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujan ye tapho divyam putrakha yena sattvam shuddhyet yasmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. All these verses are very, very important. Translation. Lord Ṛṣabhadeva told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded the human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. I am Deha, this body, Deha Bhajam of all living entities, Triloke in this world, Kashtan Kaman, troublesome sense gratification. Arhate Vit Bhujam, 2 liters, which is hogs. Ye Tapa Divyam, one should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified. Sattvam shuddhyet. Yena sattvam shuddhyet. And yasmat brahma saukyam tvanantam. And one attains this position. And when one attains this position, he attains eternal blissful life. Brahma saukyam, which is transcendental to material happiness. And which continues forever. Anantam. So tapa divyam. So you should engage in penance and austerities. For what Prabhupada is explaining that here, to attain devotional service. What happens by that yena, by which sattvam shuddhyat, heart becomes purified, and brahma saukyam anantam, and one achieves spiritual happiness, unending spiritual happiness. One experiences unending spiritual happiness. One's heart becomes purified and he experiences unending spiritual happiness by devotional service. So one has to endeavor through tapa, divyam, divine austerities and penances, not for some mundane, not to achieve something material. So these austerities and penances can be material or divine. So we have to engage in divine austerities and penances. Divine austerities and penances means the intention to attain devotion. In this verse, Lord Ṛṣabhadeva tells his sons about the importance of human life. The word Deha Bhak refers to anyone who accepts a material body. But the living entity who is awarded the human form must act differently from animals. Mm. Animals like dogs and hogs enjoy sense gratification by eating stool. After undergoing severe hardships all day, human beings are trying to enjoy themselves at night by eating, drinking, having sex, and sleeping. At the same time, they have to properly defend themselves. However, this is not human civilization. Human life means voluntarily practicing suffering. Austerity means suffering. Voluntarily practicing suffering for the advancement of spiritual life. So when we are trying to follow rules and regulations, that might be suffering. But we have to voluntarily accept this suffering for the advancement of spiritual life. The austerities, one has to take up austerities. Some suffering one has to go through. Why? Because first thing is it will make us detached from our body, which we are so attached to. And the whole idea is not to just become detached from the body, but by doing those austerities, we engage in devotional service, so we advance in spiritual life. There's of course suffering in the lives of animals and plants, which are suffering due to their past misdeeds. Like we know Nalakuvara and Manigriva, they took bodies of trees, which is suffering due to their past misdeeds. However, human beings should voluntarily accept suffering in the form of austerities and penances in order to attain divine life. And Bhagavad Gita also, Prabhupada actually explains saying that this austerity is done for some material means is actually sinful because it's um, troubling the body. So that kind of austerities are not accepted by Shastra. So we have to accept austerities and penances in order to attain divine life. What is divine life? Brahma Bhuta, Brahman platform. After attaining the divine life, one can enjoy happiness eternally. But that is Brahma Saukyam, not Bhautika Saukyam, not material happiness, but it is Brahma Saukyam, spiritual happiness. One experiences spiritual happiness eternally. After all, every living entity is trying to enjoy happiness. But as long as one is encaged in the material body, he has to suffer different kinds of misery. Mm, can't escape from this misery. A higher sense is present in the human form. A higher sense, meaning something, there has to be some higher reason to exist in the human form, not just eating, sleeping, mating, defending. There has to be a higher sense that should be present in human life. We should act according to superior advice in order to attain eternal happiness and go back to Godhead. Mm. Important thing is here we should act according to superior advice, which is Guru Sadhu Shastra. But voluntarily accepting those rules and regulations, taking up austerities, getting up in the morning, Ekadashi, uh, etc., etc. Right? Very simple, very compared to Vedic civilization, the austerities that we are expected to follow in bhakti is they're really not that difficult at all. But still, we want more easier path. We don't even want to follow that. Okay, don't eat outside food. We can't follow that, right? Then we come up with all kinds of creative reasons how we can eat Jain food, how we can eat uh, something purchased from the market and just offered in front of Krishna. What is that offering? Bhaktya patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. Yeah, I got it with lot of devotion from the shop and offered it with lot of devotion to Krishna. Krishna is not going to accept this kind of stuff. So little austerities we have to take. But the important point is that we have to come to the position of devotional service. That's the whole point. Then we might say, okay, we are already practicing devotional service. No, we are not practicing devotional service. We are practicing to practice devotional service. Meaning if you are in the platform Mishra, mixed devotion, it's not considered devotion at all. It's like karma yoga. But devotion actually means pure devotion. And devotion starts only when we give up this attachment to the body and things coming out of the body. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. So we should come to this Brahmabhuta stage where we are not hankering, not lamenting. Then we are actually madbhaktim labate pana. We actually get pure devotion. It is significant in this verse that the government and the natural guardian, the father, should educate subordinates and raise them to Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is saying government and the natural guardian, meaning the father, should educate subordinates and raise them to Krishna consciousness. Devoid of Krishna consciousness, every living being suffers in this cycle of birth and death perpetually. To relieve them from this bondage and enable them to become blissful and happy, Bhakti Yoga should be taught. Hmm. Elsewhere in Bhagavatam it says, Guru na sasyat, Pita na sasyat, Janani na sasyat. If we can't educate subordinates and raise them to Krishna consciousness, then Bhagavatam is saying, don't become a guru, don't become a father, don't become a mother. So to enable our subordinates to live a blissful and happy life, we have to teach them Bhakti Yoga. A foolish civilization neglects to teach people how to rise to the platform of Bhakti Yoga. Foolish civilization, animalistic civilization. Without Krishna consciousness, a person is no better than a hog or dog. The instructions of Ṛṣabhadeva are very essential at the present moment. People are being educated and trained to work very hard for sense gratification. And there is no sublime aim in life, sublime, something higher. There is no sublime aim in life. A man travels to earn his livelihood, leaving home early in the morning, catching a local train, and being packed in a compartment. He has to stand for an hour or two in order to reach his place of business. Then again, he takes a bus to get to the office. At the office, he works hard from 9 to 5. Where 9 to 5? Uh, Much longer than that. Then he takes 2 or 3 hours to return home. After eating, he has sex and goes to sleep. For all this hardship, his only happiness is a little sex. Yan maitunadi grahamedi sukham hitucham. Rishabdev clearly states that human life is not meant for this kind of existence, which is enjoyed even by the dogs and hogs. Indeed, dogs and hogs do not have to work so hard for sex. A human being should try to live in a different way and should not try to imitate dogs and hogs. The alternative is mentioned. Human life is meant for tapasya. By tapasya, one can get out of the material clutches. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, devotional service, his happiness is guaranteed eternally. By taking to Bhakti Yoga devotional service, one's existence is purified. The living entity is seeking happiness life after life, but he can make a solution to all his problems simply by practicing Bhakti Yoga. Then he immediately becomes eligible to return home back to Godhead. See, when we read these kind of statements, we should understand, are we actually experiencing this? Because this is what we are supposed to experience. Hmm. We're supposed to experience bliss. If you're not, then which means basically we are not following the path properly. Simple. One of the lectures, my Guru Maharaj was saying that mm, people criticize him for being very strict about rules. So he said, "Well, actually, if we strictly follow rules and regulations, the result is the devotee actually experiences happiness. While those who are who don't like all these strict rules and regulations, they say, oh, no, no, you follow strict rules and regulations and there's no happiness in bhakti. Hmm. But that happiness that we get by not following rules and regulations in bhakti is may not be necessarily real bhakti. It's just material kind of happiness because we are left free to do whatever we want. But that's not real happiness. Real happiness is Brahma Saukyam. And that Brahma Saukyam is experienced only when one comes to Brahman stage. So by following rules and regulations, by doing tapasya, one actually comes to Brahman stage. And by not following, you will remain on the material stage and experience something which looks like or which we assume is Brahma Saukyam, spiritual happiness, but it's not spiritual happiness. It's just another form of material happiness. For example, just eating some um, nice prasadam. People say it is nice prasadam. What do you mean nice prasadam? Prasadam is always nice because it is mercy of the Lord. But if you are eating prasadam for the taste of the tongue, then we will talk about nice prasadam, not so nice prasadam. And when we eat nice prasadam, we are happy. And we eat non-nice prasadam, we are not very happy. But this is not bhakti. This is not spiritual happiness. This is mundane happiness. So we should not confuse mundane happiness to spiritual happiness. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental tattvataha nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So each of these verses, like I said, super important. Nayam na ayam dehaha dehabhajam dhruloke kashtan kaman. This we have to remember. Kashtan kaman. For sense gratification, people have to go through a lot of trouble. Prabhupada writes elsewhere saying that, but they forget the trouble that they are undergoing when they get that sense gratification. Their focus towards the trouble happens only when they don't get whatever they want. Then they'll be lamenting, oh, I put so much of effort, I didn't get this. Somebody else got it, envy, he didn't put so much effort. Kashtan Kaman. But this Kashtan Kaman is who deserves this? Arhate Vidbhujan. This is deserved by stool eaters. Uh, but what should human beings do? Tapat Divyam Sattvam Shuddhyet Brahma Saukyam Anantam. So we have to remember this life of sense gratification is animalistic. Yeah, Prabhu.
Yeah, Krishna Prabhu. True
Hare
that
Krishna.
in this point, Prabhupada writes that we should basically voluntarily accept austerity for
Mm-hmm.
the advancement, right? So there are also other communities like Jains, right? For example, there is a Jain temple nearby.
Mm-hmm.
They also do this austerity of being complete Digambar, right? So there
That
are
is
also other,
craziness. Yeah.
yeah, so there are also other communities. So are they also getting some advancement in spirituality? Although their sampradaya
Mm.
might not be authentic, it might be Apa Sampradaya or it might be some other sampradaya in some other uh,
No, they are not getting any. They are not getting any transcendental benefit out of that.
hmm.
See, that is why, like, for example, Prabhupada gave this example of Mahatma Gandhi. Right now,
Yeah, yeah.
what did he get? Nothing, zero. right? Because there is no spiritual intent at all. So the intent of these austerities and penances are important. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you are absolutely making progress from this life of sense enjoyment to life of attachment, detachment, and vairagya, etc., which is good generally because that is the direction of progress. But that is, I mean, that's like elsewhere in Bhagavatam it says like these kind of tapa and all, which they can be favorable, meaning they can help one come to devotion at some stage in their life if they are not offensive to devotees and the Supreme Lord. Then these austerities and penances, charity, studying of Vedas, all these can be favorable. Though bhakti is independent, these activities can become favorable because somewhat they're also the foundation of bhakti, life of bhakti also, right? Is Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yogam. Prakashananda Saraswati said, why Vairagya Vidya, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Actually, if somebody is doing real bhakti, then mm, Vairagya would manifest. So these things are fine. They can be favorable, but there is no guarantee that somebody who does this will actually come to the platform of bhakti. And of course, like if they are doing Bhagavad Gita says if they are doing austerities for their own some material goal to achieve some material goal, it's actually a sin. It's actually sinful because it's actually troubling the Atma and Paramatma within.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, really, I mean, it's just simply mundane, and it has its own. It'll be in the realm of karma phala, right? And if it happened to be some even as per Vedas acceptable austerity, then yeah, it can be favorable because then they'll be favorable towards devotees through whom then they can come to devotion. But otherwise, no use.
Yeah. You mentioned Paramatma also getting
Yeah,
trouble.
Paramatma is also troubled. Prabhupada writes that.
Hmm.
Purport he writes, both Atma and Paramatma are troubled by austerities.
Oh, I mean, Paramatma is troubled because he sees that the
Staying in the body.
soul is
He's
suffering.
also residing in the body, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I mean, Paramatma is compassionately, he's coming and sitting in the body to guide the Atma. Right now, all these kinds of things. Also, just it's, it's troublesome because Atma is also suffering. Paramatma is also, because of the suffering of the Atma, Paramatma is also not happy.
Yeah.
See, it's like yeah, I mean, not that it is mundane, but yeah, Prabhupada writes that both Atma and Paramatma are coupled.
Yeah. Clear, bro. No. Mhm.
Okay, anything else? Mm. Please note, like just re-emphasizing, these verses are like super important actually. Right?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
But just adding to what Prabhu asked, like in the Jain Dharma, they even bodily they give so much of pain. Like they take out their hair.
Correct.
They're fasting for 40 days, and they
Yeah.
also have something like when you leave the body, like ichha mrityu, when they don't eat. They're just confined it to a room, and
Mm.
they don't eat. They don't see anybody. Santara or some. I think it's called Santara. So
Mm.
that all that austerity just is down the drain, according
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's down the drain.
And Prabhu, like see,
Like I
like
said,
that.
it's not just down the drain. It can also be detrimental, right? It
Oh,
can also be considered a sin, which
uh-huh,
not
uh-huh.
which worse than that.
Because I have many Jain friends, and they really strictly follow this. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Prabhupada writes. Let me see. Austerity of the body. See if it is in this.
uh-huh. And Prabhu, like in India, most of us do Purnamashi. It's very common. Santoshima is, and like we used to do it before coming. So that could
Mhm.
be a stepping stone to devotees to become a devotee, or it is just that
What is
like
that? What do you do?
like Purnamashika Bhartam, full
What do they
moon,
do? Oh, okay, okay. That Kadwa Chauth, right? That
Satyanarayan,
one.
and even Santoshi the Friday, like this became very popular after the film. So
Ah,
I mean, all these is just even these are not, they're not helpful to
no,
even
no. They
come
are
to this.
like, yeah, like Bhagavatam only says that charity, they are not directly, they are not, because bhakti is independent. So they cannot directly be causes for somebody to come to bhakti. But they can, like I said, some of these things, if they're, because it's connected to demigod worship, and people generally don't have much distinction between, uh, like different forms of demigods and the Supreme Lord. So somehow they will be favorable to devotees of Supreme Lord also. So that way they will get some sukruti. Uh,
Yes, Prabhu. I mean, yes, Prabhu. Because with the great, I mean, Guru Maharaj's mercy, the way we came into Krishna conscious was just this, so it just
yeah.
adding
But
things.
the important thing is that, like that coming in touch with a pure devotee is the important part,
Yes,
right?
Prabhu.
So like
Yes,
these things can, see, it's better than, for example, somebody is an atheist, right? Then they will never come even close to devotees, right?
yes, Prabhu.
So when some of these demigod related stuff can be favorable, but they are not cause. They are not the cause for coming to bhakti. They can be favorable.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. No, I can't find that. Can't find that verse. There's Prabhupada is written in purport. So like so put something like this. I can't remember what the exact words are. Or maybe he stays in a class, I think.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I lost connection, Prabhu. That's what.
Okay, okay. No, I'm just trying to find that what Prabhupada has said about this austerity. I remember having read it, but
Pranam Prabhuji, as far as I remember, Prabhuji, I thought I read somewhere that Lord is not pleased with the austerities of the yogis who place them in cold water or like fire around them, and he's more pleased with those who preach his glories. I can't exactly relate this. And Prabhuji, these Jains are offensive to Krishna, na?
yeah.
That's why like they are
I
like.
mean, of
Yeah,
course, nowadays everything is all mixed up, right? Like, they really know the philosophy? Yeah, I mean, original Jains were offensive. Now I don't know whether they even understand what Jainism means. But
I think they are still offensive. I also
okay,
agree with Mataji. Yeah.
okay. Hmm. Okay, I let me see. I'll search because that I very very clearly remember that it's saying troubled, but I can't remember where. Okay, okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just another addition.
Yeah,
Prabhu, like then in the other communities, you one month of fasting, you are eating non-veg, like
yeah.
even in the Christians and Muslims. So that will not lead, that will lead to a downer, this thing. That it is not anyway. But then how does that religion preach that?
No, that is what that For example, Islam, they talk about pravritti and nivritti. Even in Islam, like this conversation between Chand Kazi and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in that Prabhupada writes that there are two paths even in Islam, which is pravritti and nivritti. So nivritti in even in Islam is can be considered favorable, just like uh, in Hinduism, whatever nivritti mark. But pravritti is downgrading. That's not going to be favorable. For example, I was reading third canto, the episode of Jaya and Vijaya falling down from Vaikuntha. So in that actually there's one verse which is saying that those who are inimical to Brahmanas' cows, uh, they actually have to, they're punished severely in hell for that. Mm, so that they're just simply their act of eating, yeah, even Bhagavatam, fifth canto also, the discussion is there, right? Like as much as hairs are there on the body of the cow, so many years they have to suffer, right? So that is fully sense gratification, and that is downgrading.
Yeah,
But
I
when
have
you,
a I have a Muslim friend, Prabhu. So he is saying that even in Islam, animal killing is prohibited, and
yeah,
he
that's what there is nivritti and pravritti.
yeah yeah
So nivritti actually they don't advise all this. But the problem is like in all religions, what they originally started off with and where they are today in terms of practice is very, very far off from where they started. Um, voluntary austerity and austerity. That is forced austerity. That is not good. Okay, anyway. So yeah, like see, which is also the reason why even for us in ISKCON, we have to be very closely attuned to what Srila Prabhupada wants. That because otherwise it will be the same thing. In few, maybe few years, we'll also be somewhere else from where we started. Because most of the religions actually have ended up that way, right? They start with something and they are somewhere else now. Like even impersonalists, right? Now, really, there was not so much of Mayavad at the time of Shankaracharya. It was just impersonalism. But now it has become staunch Mayavad. Mm. Okay, anyway, we can't start another word, so I'm just searching for this. I think in this 18th chapter. I'm not wrong. Okay, any other questions while I'm just.
Prabhuji, please check 17th chapter, 5th and 6th verses. I think those are the ones you are looking for. I'll
Okay.
just-
Ah, yeah. See here. Yeah, Supreme Person about it. And disturbed, not troubled. Okay, disturbed. Yeah, this is line. Thank you, Mataji. By such activities, not only is the combination of material elements of which the body is constructed disturbed, but also the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself living within the body. This is what I was trying to. Yeah, but such unauthorized fasting or austerities for some political end are certainly very disturbing to others. They are not mentioned in the Vedic literature. A demoniac person may think that he can force his enemy or other parties, whatever. Blah. These are acts are not approved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And says that those who engage in them are demons. Such demonstrations are insults to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are enacted in disobedience to the Vedic scriptural injunctions. Anyway, the important part was this, right? Disturbs. Sometimes I would have read something, but I don't know where it is. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anything else? Connection to this verse? We can't start one more verse. Okay, then we'll stop here. Okay, there are no questions, no other questions, then we can stop. Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pancha kalpatarubhyashcha kripa sindhubhya cha patirana bhavebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo koti vaishnavebhyo ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pranam.
Hare
Pranam to
Krishna.
everybody assembled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.